Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of the Evolving Pathways podcast. The title of tonight's episode is Draw the Line, Gatekeeping Your Boundaries. Allow us to introduce ourselves once more for the sake of those who are listening to us for the first time. I am Soul Dr. Kyla, aka Dr. Kyla Talents. I'm an aesthetic dermatologist practicing at Skin Philosophy. I'm also a Mindvalley-certified hypnotherapist and a self-love coach, as well as a functional medicine doctor.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Ken Sumera naman and I'm an NLP coach. Yeah, magkaklase kami ni Kyla sa Mind Valley. We're both hypnotherapists. And this is what I do. I love to share ideas and concepts that has worked for me and my clients. So tara, episode 5.
Boundaries, diba? This is super relatable for me because I have had my fair share of unpleasant experiences with, I think it's a cultural thing na like among Asians, we are quite big on like shame, obligation, fear, or
Mm.
like guilt, diba? Like I'm a big fan of K-dramas and C-dramas, so I noticed that the phrase "we don't owe each other anymore" after doing one another favors, like it often comes up. And when I was studying Psikolohiyang Pilipino at UP Diliman, kasi my pre-med course is BS Psychology, uh, we were taught that we Pinoys are quite big on utang na loob, bayanihan,
Okay.
hiya, diba?
Mm.
Parang it's super common. And growing up, my parents are quite conservative and they came from Nueva Ecija and Iloilo respectively. So, like coming to Manila, they trained themselves to be super proper, to make pakisama with everyone, to keep the peace. So they ingrained those values in me as well. And that was like the kind of family that I grew up in, the kind of neighborhood that I grew up in. And that was also the culture in school. I sort of just blindly followed these directives. And like from an outsider's perspective, people would say na parang, oh, I'm I'm a good student, or like I'm a good Christian, or I'm a good citizen because I always follow the rules, I always do good deeds. A lot of people didn't know that deep inside there was a sort of conflict within me because I've always felt that I was always putting myself last. Like, even when eating with a lot of people, diba? Parang, even though you're super, super, super hungry and there's that last piece of like sushi, for example, in the middle, you're not gonna get it because of the concept of hiya. I
Mm.
mean, that's why among us Pinoys, we call that like the jahe piece, diba?
Mm.
And I remember being told by like my lola that giving alms to the poor or donating to the church will earn you brownie points in heaven. So even though I was doing it deep down, I felt conflicted because even during times that I needed to help myself more, I was putting everyone else's needs ahead of my own. So there was that heavy feeling. Like those good deeds aren't bad on their own. It's just that I realized that my motivations were negatively charged, meaning like it was coming from a place of fear. I would go to hell if I don't do good deeds. It was coming from a place of obligation because I'm Pinoy. I was Catholic, so I had to do these things. And it was also coming from a place of guilt because my lola would say that, you have more than enough, so you should be more generous, things like that. And like the pursuit of money was kind of shamed in our family. So, like, if you had big dreams, like, you can potentially be labeled as greedy. So, those things, like, held me back from actually taking better care of myself. I realized later on as I studied personal development that our intention is what matters. Our intentions are what matter more, because like we can do the same good deeds, yet we can like change the motivations behind them. Like if we are helping because we genuinely feel compassion for our neighbor, or if we are following like certain requests from our parents or our friends because we love them, then the act doesn't feel heavy anymore. Like maybe to illustrate it better, I'll use two concepts like sacrifice versus service. Like sacrifice implies like something that it implies that you're kind of losing something, or you're experiencing something hurtful or unpleasant for the sake of other people. Whereas when you're coming from a place of service, it's it's like the motivation behind it is generosity, compassion, or love, right? So, um, wait, I have another kwento. This is not my own kwento, but uh, my best friend and I were having this conversation over dinner one time.
Mm.
And I'm not mentioning her name anyway. So she would refer to her mom as like batas militar because she has a very strong personality. And like in their household, if her mom asks her to do something, like she would unquestioningly follow her mom's orders. And like I told her that I also do the same things for my mom, even when it's inconvenient, like when I'm already sleepy, like if my mom asks me to get a glass of water because our maids are already asleep, I would still do it. And even though her experience is the same with her mom, like she would do these things for her mom also, the motivations behind our actions are quite different. So I told her, you know, to make it easier for yourself, perhaps you can think of the reasons why you love your mom, and you can try to summon feelings of compassion. Our moms are already seniors, so it's quite difficult for them to do like seemingly simple tasks. And once we are able to change like our motivations, then the tasks get easier. We're not really doing it for other people, we're doing it for ourselves. And like I used to find it hard to believe that when you give you're actually receiving, because I felt that that's not true, because you're giving up something instead of like helping yourself. But it was actually the motivation that actually made that statement true. When I started giving out of compassion, out of care for even strangers, I didn't feel anymore that I was losing something. Okay. Do you have anything to add, Ken? Ken, what are your personal experiences with Pinoy concept?
Reciprocation, I think through the years I've always talked about reciprocity coming from some uh rules for persuasion. I mean, when you give, 'di ba? Parang sabi nga nila, it goes around. And when you work with Some people who are centered with spirituality, energy daw yun. Siyempre, when you give, it goes back to you. So, meron din yung mga forms like karma and stuff, di ba? So, when you do good deeds, pile up. Tapos, meron din sa religion. Iba-iba eh. Iba-iba
Mhm.
eh. Pero, ang naging realization ko dyan, medyo different eh. Parang, it's a form of control.
In what way?
Tapos, some it goes to the benefit of probably kunwari kung sino man nagsabi nung nasimula pwedeng maniwala ka doon and hence you'll always give and give and give and give so nag-create na siya ng pattern mula ng bata tinuturo na sa iyo yung mga ganong bagay di ba
Mhm.
hanggang sa lumaki ka ganun na siya and
Mhm.
then you find a good feeling by doing it pero if you were trained differently na sinabi mula ng bata ka na hindi okay magbigay.
Mhm.
So habang hindi ka, pag tumanda ka, nang ganun yung tinuturo sa'yo na you get good feelings naman pag hindi ka nagbibigay. Does not like, make
Yeah.
sense naman din. So it's something that's I see sa culture din eh.
Mm.
And yung sa reciprocation part, ang sabi ko doon sa isang talk na dineliver ko was, it is a hidden rule that most educated people follow.
Mhm.
Kasi bakit ko inad yung word na educated na yung, di ba pag may tinulungan ka, insan ini-expect mo na rin na tutulungan ka rin ng tao pabalik.
Mm. Mm.
Pero kung mapapansin mo as you grow older, maraming tao rin na walang utang na loob.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
And we blame them, right? Like, because we have our own sets of moral standards,
meron na.
we
Yeah.
shame people who are not conforming to those standards. So parang we are actually perpetuating like the loss of boundaries also.
Yeah,
In a way.
that makes sense. That makes sense. So parang, kuwari, sunod-sunod yung tinulungan mong tao.
Mhm.
Tapos, nga, tumutulong ka. Tapos, yung yun eh. I do think most of our listeners would agree with this eh. Nung ikaw na yun nandun sa point na yun, na ikaw na yung naghihirap, humingi ka ng kahit konting tulong, tapos itong mga tinulungan mo pa yung talagang hindi ka na pinansin, wala ka ng
Mhm.
value eh.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yun yung sinasabi ko with reciprocity kasi I mean, it is one very important rule for persuasion kasi din eh. You teach, you add value and in return they give value. Pero ang ina-add ko kasi dito na concept is set it so that they would reciprocate it. So
Mhm.
kunwari, yun nga yung sinabi ko na kunwari tinulungan um yung example ko palagi dyan is, kuha, nagda-drive ako, nakita ka sa daan, tapos, Hoy,
Mhm.
Kyla, saan ka punta? Uy, Ken, pauwi na ako. Hindi na, tara, sabay ka na. I'll drive you there. Dito, on the way na naman eh. Tapos pagbaba mo, Ken, thanks ha. Wala yan, ano man. No worries, no worries. Okay, bye. Wala lang yun. Kasi,
Mhm.
usually sinasabi natin yan eh. Uy, salamat ha. Hindi, wala yun. But if you get to say that, like, put a script there na parang, oy, ano ka ba? Walang problema doon. Alam ko naman kasi, if I were in the same situation, you'd do the same for me. So you set the rules. Nag-set ka ng guidelines na, pag ako naman yun nandyan, tutulungan mo naman din ako, di ba? Tapos umuo
Mhm.
naman siya. You've set an agreement. Pero kunwari talagang wala ka lang sinasabi, ina-expect nila na talagang gagawin mo lang talaga yun for them.
Yeah. Again, I want to circle back to what I mentioned earlier. Like, it all boils down to the motivation behind our actions. Kasi, like, if we are helping based on the premise that this person would also help us when we are in trouble or when we are in need in the future, then obviously we would feel sour if the person doesn't return the favor. Whereas if we assume, that every act of kindness that we give is something that we do for ourselves, then that behavior or that action theoretically should be rewarding on its own. Like, siguro it takes a lot of inner work or like spiritual development before we are able to like really grasp that concept. Pero for me, for example, I'm a fur mom. So I started with that to make
Mm.
it easier for me to understand that concept. Kasi like when you feed your dog, for example,
Mm.
that dog cannot give you any food. That dog cannot provide for you materially. So like for moms like me would keep on giving love to our dogs because it feels good to make the dog feel good. And that is a reward in itself. It's not because I'm expecting something in return from my dog. In fact, even when my dog is pretending to just sleep when I'm already home,
Mhm.
I don't feel bad about it because there was no expectation in the first place for
Yeah.
him to like return the favor when I gave him that act of kindness.
Yeah, and
So
that's for the dog. Kasi siyempre, hindi siya fully functioning adult. It's the same with kids. I mean, wala ka,
yeah,
yun
yeah.
talaga.
We
Yun,
help
yun
kids
talaga.
for the
Oh,
sake of helping them.
for the
Yeah.
sake of helping them. Pero pag adult yan, put it in the context na fully functioning adult din yung
Yeah.
kausap mo. I mean, if, di ba parang masarap tumulong pag alam mong um, subjective kasi to eh. Siguro let's just
Yeah, it
put
is
context.
subjective.
Very very subjective kasi tong topic na to. So just for our listeners out there kung nakikinig ka man, I mean just kung di nag-aalign sa'yo, just wait for the
Yes.
next wait for the next point na marami pa kami pinag-uusapan dito and
Yeah.
nag-enjoy lang kami. So,
Yeah.
nasa na nga ba ako? Yung sabi ko,
Fully
paano
grown
pag adult?
adult.
Paano pag
Uh,
adult? So, parang nasa context kasi ako na masarap tumulong sa isang taong either tinulungan ka na rin in the past or kung tutulungan ko siya, kung nakikita ko na meron siyang value na kayang i-add sa akin, it gives me probably a personal like intent at plus points na tulungan talaga yung tao.
mm-hmm.
Pero kunwari, nasa sitwasyon ako na overflowing naman ako. Madali
Mm-hmm.
tumulong pag overflowing ka eh.
Yes, that's
Madali
true.
tumulong pag overflowing ka eh. So kunwari, may kailangan kong tulungan and overflowing ka naman, I do think parang, okay, sige. Anong problema? I've been in the same situation. I know how it feels. Sige, I'll help you. Because,
Mm-hmm.
wala lang. Gusto mo lang tumulong. Minsan, it's not about, minsan you don't get the same feeling of feeling good na rin naman eh.
Mm-hmm.
As like before. But, minsan, nandun lang sa context na parang, you understand where the situation, where the person is coming from. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there's just like a programming inside of you that's leading to you to actually just help.
Mm-hmm.
But again, ang topic natin ngayon is drawing the line.
Mm-hmm.
Drawing the line. Pero nagsiset lang kami ng context ni Kyla where we're both coming from. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
where we're both coming from. So, Kyla, let's revert to the topic. I
All
mean,
right.
how do you draw the line? This is for people or syempre mga listeners natin or even for the both of us that if you are in this feeling na sobra na yung nabibigay mo,
Mm-hmm.
how do you draw that line?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sige kaya lang yan.
Okay, first off, siguro in my case, like it took a lot of deprogramming and reprogramming. Like I had to unlearn these old values and I had to relearn the concept that self-priority is actually selfless. Because when you're emotionally drained, then you're not actually contributing like positive vibes to the world. So I made it a point to actually be more mindful of my own needs, of my own wants.
Mhm.
And that reframe helped me a lot because, we cannot pour from an empty cup, diba? How can you care for other people when you yourself are feeling drained or when you're feeling not abundant? So I like what you said earlier, na it's easy to help without expecting anything in return when you feel powerful, when you feel abundant,
Mhm.
when you feel happy.
Mhm.
Uh, so like for me, I often use this analogy, Ed. Like when you're on a plane, diba? Like the FAs would always like demonstrate like precautionary measures. So they would instruct us to always put the vest on ourselves first or the oxygen mask on ourselves first before helping other people. So I like the concept of self-priority because it's actually more logical. Like when you are full, then you have more than enough to help others or to share yourself more to others. So like it took me years to finally accept that self priority is selfless. It took practice. In fact, like I did a book club with one of my friends before, and um in that book there were some exercises at the end of some chapters where we were asked to do some things that were uncomfortable for us.
Hmm.
So by doing those exercise deliberately, parang I exercised my boundaries muscle. With repetition kasi it gets easier and easier. Like, at the beginning, there were these voices that would criticize me, that inner critic. Parang, wala kang utang na loob, or di ka nahiya, or wala kang pakisama. Um, by repeating to myself that self-priority is selfless, I was able to overcome or like lower the volume of the inner critic. So protecting my boundaries got easier and easier for me. Like it really takes a lot of practice.
I-connect ko lang dun sa setting boundaries for siyempre para dun sa mga nakikinig. Define your boundaries muna. I mean, what when can you say enough is enough? While we were discussing earlier, some thoughts were like just coming to my mind kasi syempre may mga movie napanood ko rin yun eh, yung kay Jim Carrey. You watch it, yung Yes Man. Yeah.
Yes. Ah,
Yes
I didn't
Man, hindi pa?
see that.
Oh yeah, you could actually watch that. And it's a good movie about a person just, um wala siyang choice kundi mag-yes. Kailangan siya mag-yes sa lahat ng bagay na i-ask sa kanya.
Mhm.
Pero yeah, yep, it's a nice movie. Pero ang gusto ko munang i-highlight dito for everyone is, can you define your own boundaries? When can you say enough is enough? Um, we decided to come up with this topic for this episode because ang nagiging issue nga with some of our clients and friends then was um wala na nga ako eh pero kailangan ko pa rin magbigay.
Mhm.
And there have been studies like um you could watch it on YouTube, 'di ba? I mean, may mga pulubi sa daan tapos biglang humingi ka ng pagkain dun sa may pera, parang steady hindi ka pabibigyan, pero humingi ka ng kahit pagkain sa pulubi, kahit yun na lang yung hawak niya, minsan i-share pa niya. Again,
Mhm.
it's for me it's like a play of values pa rin eh. I mean,
Mhm.
it I couldn't generalize na lahat nung mayaman ganon. I couldn't generalize na lahat ng pulubi ganon.
Mhm.
It's for I question it eh. Parang it's social, it's a social experiment. So
Mhm.
probably yung nilabas nila doon is yung taong nag-share, pero meron din mga taong hindi nag-share,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So pero let's play about the thought na if you're in a place na sobrang empty ka na, ask yourself, tutulong ka pa ba?
Mhm.
And for most of us, if placed in a situation, we would still help.
Mhm.
Pero at the end, it's like, nakatulong ka nga, you felt good, and afterwards, nararamdaman mo na rin yung effects nun. Kasi
Mhm.
walang-wala ka na nga eh. Then,
Mhm.
you batter ayoko sabihin you batter yourself. Most batter themselves.
Mhm.
because like doon nila marirealize na walang-wala na sila.
Mhm.
Pero it gives them a good feeling that they're still helping.
Mhm.
So ngayon, paano ka aahon? Paano ka makakaahon? And medyo tricky tong topic na to eh. Kaya medyo pinag-usapan din namin ni Kyla to beforehand kasi again, tricky. Lalo na for let's put in the context ng um ayoko sabihin single parents eh. Put in the context ng breadwinners.
Mhm.
Yun. Yung context na yun, I
Mhm.
have like more than tens of clients that have that situation na coach, hindi ko na kaya.
They feel so drained.
Hindi ko na kaya. Pero paano si paano si mama? Paano si daddy? Yun yung statement. Paano yung mga kapatid ko nag-aaral pa?
Mhm.
Pero ano yun? Ano mangyayari sa akin pag nagkasakit ako?
Mhm.
Paano na? So,
Mhm.
mentally, too much drained.
Yeah.
Fucking drained. Sobrang walang-wala na. And nararamdaman nyo sa pagkikwento ko ngayon eh. Kasi as a coach, as a therapist, nararamdaman namin yung bigat nung
Yes.
binubuhat ng mga kausap namin. And
Yeah.
um, paano nga naman yun? Hindi mo naman pwedeng sabihin sa kanya, humihingi siya ng guidance, tapos sasabihin mo lang, umalis ka na dyan, iwan mo na sila,
Yeah.
bayaan mo
Mm.
sila sa kangkungan, di ba? Hindi mo na pwedeng
Yeah.
sabihin yun. So,
Yeah.
you have to, ano eh, saan ko, yun yung issue dun eh, saan ko kukuha ngayon ng lakas, ng energy to
Mm.
actually pull through.
Mhm.
Kaso wala ka na rin oras for personal development, wala ka ng oras eh. Wala kang oras to take care of yourself, wala kang oras to ganito kasi lahat ng iisipin mo is to just sobrang selfless oh. Wala sa sarili mo yung tingin mo eh.
Mhm.
Outward.
Mhm.
Kasi yun yung doon ka na pinanganak. Yun yung sad realities of the world eh. Pinanganak ka
Mhm.
ng level 10 yung difficulty ng buhay mo.
Mhm.
'Di ba? Pinanganak ka na ganun yung circumstance, pinanganak ka na minsan yun yung sad realities eh. But again, buhay ka pa.
Mhm.
And habang buhay ka at kumari, yun nga sabi ko dun sa mga kausap ko nun eh. Teka lang, yung point dito is magkausap tayo ngayon and you wanting to develop yourself and you wanting to actually improve the situation for the
Mhm.
betterment of everyone. Tara, let's work on it.
Mhm.
So, ang mga sinuggest ko doon, well, yung mga unang winner ko namin doon was to define muna. Define the concepts na nangyayari. Ano yung limit ba niya? Para at least alam namin kung nasan na siya. Kung ari, nandun ka na ba? Sukdulan ka na ba? Sukdulan
Mhm.
ka na ba? Meron bang pwedeng tumulong sa'yo? Did you even communicate with the people that you're helping that ito na yung feeling mo? And most, to be honest with everyone, most did not even communicate that. And
Yeah.
yeah, and they're even expecting na alam na nung mga taong yun na pagod na siya. Which is hindi. Hindi mo nga kinommunicate eh. So, nasa utak nila, okay lang. Kaya mo eh.
Mhm.
Kaya mo
Yeah.
eh. And you've actually also trained them to 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 see you like that in a certain manner.
Mhm.
So, ngayon, kain na kain ka na nung sarili mong sitwasyon, tapos wala pang tutulong sa'yo kasi you did not position yourself na meron kahit papaano gumabay sa'yo, na kahit papaano pag uwi mo man lang, nilutuan ka naman ng pagkain. Kahit papaano pag uwi mo man lang, hindi ka na papagalitan, hindi ka pa aawayin, ikaw na nga yung, gets mo? May ganun pa yung sitwasyon, di ba? So parang, ah, um, we work with, hindi lang mindset eh, we work with the definitions first, we work with how the person could look at it in a different way. Um, yeah, discuss pa natin yun, Kyla. I think,
Okay.
naglapag lang ako ng context kasi
Yeah.
ang bigat yan, no?
Yeah.
Timo, parang,
Yeah.
how the fuck can you say no?
Yeah. I have a similar experience with my clients also. Kasi I'm a derma. So at my aesthetic clinic, I encounter a lot of hair loss patients, acne patients, and they're all rooted in stress. And a lot of them would already tell me their life story na some of them are breadwinners, or some of them are moms who are busy taking care of several kids, and they just don't have enough energy anymore, and they feel so drained. So I always tell them that, self-care will actually give you more energy to do other things. It may sound counterintuitive kasi like there are only 24 hours in a day. Most of us would spend about 6 to 8 hours sleeping. So
Mm.
that leaves us with 16. With Metro Manila traffic, let's deduct 2 hours, so 14. We have to do like grooming activities, so maybe we're left with about 12 hours. In 12 hours, some people work or take care of their businesses. So there are only 2 hours for other things. And it may sound counterproductive to allocate 30 minutes for self-care, yet sometimes that power nap, or that hot bath, or that uh, trip to a spa for a massage can actually boost your energy. And you did mention earlier the feelings of emptiness, na parang after giving so much, you already feel empty afterwards because binigay mo na sa lahat yung iba, walang natira sa'yo. We were trained in hypnotherapy, and I just remembered that, we can work with metaphors, because that feeling of emptiness is actually subjective. I'm not trying to minimize the feelings of those who feel empty. However, it's not like a very objective assessment, because what's empty for one person may be like a state of abundance for another person, diba? Like, for those who don't have homes, parang they would already feel that people who live in smaller houses are still more fortunate or more abundant. So, one strategy that really helped me feel less empty would be like the gratitude exercise. When I take an inventory of the things that I'm grateful for, I I find more meaning in life, and that helps me stay away from thinking that, there's my life is already empty or meaningless. And I'm not sure whether you know the spiritual activator Oliver Nino.
Hindi.
He's Phil Am.
Wala akong spirit.
That's fine. I'll make kwento na lang. He was talking about like resilience, like for empaths. But I
Mm.
think like the lesson from this talk is translatable to boundaries.
Mm.
He was saying earlier that, when other people are attacking you,
Mm.
psychically, you can clear the energy. I mean, you can cleanse yourself to remove the negative energy.
Yeah.
And then you can shield yourself, like create an invisible shield so that
Mm-hmm.
you won't absorb negative energy. And then you can also amplify your powers. So he did this with a metaphor. Like, imagine that those people who are attacking you, I mean, for tonight's topic, boundaries, imagine people who are trying to drain us. Like, imagine them as small ants. If we think of ourselves as just small hills, or like ant mounds, ano tawag doon? Punso?
Oo, punso, puwede.
Then every bite from the ant would hurt us. However, when we imagine ourselves as like bigger hills or even bigger mountains, then the bites shouldn't matter. So it's a matter of perspective eh. Na parang when we believe, when we're able to convince our subconscious that we are actually more powerful or more abundant. Just like what you said earlier, madaling tumulong pag okay ka. So by minding our internal world, by ensuring that we feed our souls with like the right emotions, then that feeling of emptiness will somehow lessen or eventually diminish.
Hmm. On siguro sa side ko of things, like sa hypnosis, that can be very, very useful eh. As you said it, 'di ba? So when you get to close your eyes, you get to imagine. And when you get to imagine, you get to create a different form of reality
Mm,
na sabihin natin, if you clearly could visualize it in a form of like quote unquote energy that's
mhm.
negative, if you could put it into like a visual form of it, tatanungin ko yung client, so how, well, hypnotherapy na to, i-explain ko lang yung
Yeah.
explain ko lang yung process, no? Explain ko lang yung process on how I saw it, how you explained it. So parang, okay, just close your eyes and just, when you get to imagine all of these negative forces, what does a negative force look like for you? So kumari
Mm,
sinabi niya, red smoke. Okay, so where do you see this red smoke? I see the red smoke on my right side. Okay, now you see the red smoke coming from afar, slowly, 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 just approaching you. And then I want you to visualize what kind of force or power that's coming from you, inside of you, that could repel it. So
mhm.
sabi niya, ano daw, white smoke. Okay, white smoke. Okay. So, okay, you're having white smoke coming and going out of your body. Yan, lumalabas sa bibig mo. So every time you exhale, there's white smoke coming out.
Nice.
And as you visualize this white smoke approaching those red smoke, mas malakas yung white smoke mo eh.
Mhm.
And you have the power right now given. You're giving it power to actually repel and hold the red smoke. 'Di ba? So nando'n nakikita niya hindi na makaurong yung red smoke, 'di ba?
Mhm.
So, yun puwedeng force
That
field din
builds
yun, oh,
resilience.
puwede rin yun. Yung iba naman, I've seen concepts that I saw that worked, yung mga cord cutting naman. So,
Mm,
it was a very, very, uh, I saw the effectiveness of it as an NLP practitioner kasi parang, um okay. Get to, same thing with visualization and
mm,
imagining things. Diba? You get to close your eyes and just feel the forces around you and see and feel, hear
mhm,
anything. Tapos lahat ng mga taong connected sa'yo, each are connected with each chord. And
mhm.
as you have, yan, meron kang gunting that nahawak mo ngayon, na meron kang gunting ngayon. And then, you could cut the associations or yung mga chords na mga nakakonect sa'yo na hindi na useful for you or have been pulling you down. So it
Mhm,
was like when you actually are in that moment or in that state, it's
mhm.
very, very powerful din. Naramdaman yung, kasi ako, lalaruin ko yung hypnosis na yan. It may be a form of like spiritual approach for some, but for me, it was like, it's ano eh, I'm processing it as something like an approach eh, or something
Scientific.
like a therapy. Oh, so
Yeah.
parang, okay, cord cut, pak. Tas, nung kinakat ko yung mga taong yun, I felt light. I felt very light na. Kasi sa akin, sa loob ng utak ko, I'm working with my own subconscious mind na talagang
Mhm.
I'm talagang severing connections from
Yeah.
some old friends,
Mhm,
some old family members that, to
mhm,
be honest, I'm not even like, wala. I'm not getting anything from them, even support or anything. So parang,
mhm,
teka lang. I could still help them. Wala namang problema. But for me to wait or depend on them,
mhm,
I think wala masyadong benefits eh. So as I've gotten to um see how I saw life better. Ayoko sabihin better eh kasi perception yan eh.
lighter.
So, ano na lang, ayoko gamitin yung word pero gagamitin ko yung word for everyone here. It became more selfish. It became more selfish. It became more self-centered. And as I've experienced life with that mindset, I could say it was more fun for me.
Mhm, mhm,
There are, of course, certain people that I allow in my own personal space, which is my family,
mhm,
very close friends, asawa ko. Pero
mhm,
yun na lang. I know I don't have to like grow my circle and take care of everyone. I could take care of them, walang problema. But
mhm,
you talagang take care of specific people. I've made it small so that I could really just focus on that.
mhm. Yeah.
And for me, life is ano eh, iba-iba tayo ng buhay eh.
Mhm,
So sa akin, I'll just live my life fucking my this way. Kung sino yung
mm,
mga sumusuport sa akin, I'll give it back. Kasi you're giving me energy, I'll give it back. Kaya yung sinabi ko pag may mga birthday, tas talagang gumigreet sila sa'yo, kung bibigyan ko pa rin ng oras yun, babalikan ko pa yun. May message ko lahat yun. Kasi ano eh, um, they're giving you value eh.
yes.
So sa akin, I do think it's how I grew or what I've learned. It's a form of respect to give value back. And I do believe that if I give more value to people, um, may mga tatanaw ng utang na loob. And that's fine. I could qualify them as like, could be a good friend moving forward. Pero yung mga nakita ko that doesn't give value back, I mean, I could say, fuck you, di ba? I mean, at least hindi, pwede na, alam ko na kung sino yung mga dapat kong tutukan. And I don't, magalit ka sa akin, that's fine, that's your world. Hindi ako
Mhm,
galit sa'yo. Sa
yeah.
akin lang is hindi ko na kailangan kita isama dun sa buhay ko moving forward kasi I mean, why do I have to have a
Mhm,
bad experience of life just because of one fucking person?
mhm, yeah.
Why so and medyo naging ayoko gamitin yung term but medyo naging selfish yung
Self-prioritizing.
yan
You
self-prioritized yun yung better word, that's a better word. And when I came to that realization, which was like less than a decade ago, my behavior changed, confidence just, it just became better.
mhm,
Opportunities came more because center na ako dun sa craft eh. Center
mhm,
na rin ako dun sa approach and my own personal opinion and my own personal belief. And
mhm,
when that happened, yun nga, I could easily say no because it doesn't align. I mean, why would I yung sabi ko dun sa isang client ko we're in this journey so that you would get to know yourself better moving forward. When you
yeah.
know your boundaries and you know your limits, hindi mo kaya yun, hindi mo expertise yun eh. You know to
Mhm,
defer it. You know to just connect it to other people that could give more value. Kasi kung pipilitin mo yung sarili mo, hindi naman yun yung gusto mong gawin, pagdating mo dun sa gitna, dun ka na nagrereklamo. Ayoko na. 'Di ba? And I've gone through multiple um concerns like that sa buhay ko. So parang hindi na. Alam ko na naman na ganito yung mangyayari. Ba't ko pa itutuloy? So I'll just go with what feels good or what's right at this moment in time until it
yeah.
changes. So yun, yeah.
I was taking down notes when you were sharing those experiences, and
Dami,
like
dami.
the
Oh.
things that really struck me was like the cutting of cords, yung parang
Saya yan.
ano,
Saya.
yung clean cut na sa mga taong toxic. Like some people are what we would call, for purposes of discussion na lang, energy vampires.
Nice term,
So
yeah.
it's not like we're saying that they're bad people, but during a certain phase, they
Mm-hmm.
can tend to like take more from other people than usual.
Yeah.
So um I think when we recognize that there's nothing inherently wrong with protecting our safety, with protecting our well-being, then it can be easier for us to like cut ties with energy vampires. Like if we can just silence that voice of guilt, then we can actually eventually feel better, and we can eventually recover our lost energy. Um, my metaphor for this is like a swimming pool. If this is your energy container and there's a leak or there are several leaks, take an inventory of all the people you constantly surround yourself with. And then notice whether each person drains you or empowers you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can uh, objectively, quote unquote, not objectively, but maybe from your own evaluation, if you notice that certain people are making you feel bad quite consistently, then it's healthy for you to actually cut ties with these people, because it's like poison, diba? We can cut ties with toxic people, because if we don't, like, we end up feeling bitter. We can potentially end up feeling bitter or vengeful, and we wouldn't want that to happen to ourselves, right? So I'm not saying that, these energy vampires are like demons, kasi like we have good days, we all have good days, we all have bad days. So maybe like some people are just going through like big challenges, that's why they're like that. uh However, if they're dragging us down, then it's okay to let them go, or as you suggested earlier, we can cut cords. And then you mentioned hypnotherapy also, like the smoke. I gave like the shield as an example.
Uh,
So Paul McKenna, like when we were doing our certification,
mm,
he worked a lot. He worked on a lot of people who had like confidence issues. So I think when it comes to boundaries, like we can also keep on building confidence to say no. And like when we are able to withstand the criticism coming from other people, it would be like second nature to us na to keep on protecting our boundaries. Like, it's like, my metaphor for this is like a tree.
mm-hmm.
Diba? Parang, if you protect your boundaries, and sorry, tree versus bamboo. Uh, if you're a bamboo and like small criticisms already make you feel weak about your convictions, then you're gonna easily get swayed. You won't be able to protect your boundaries. However, you can only work if you can work on your confidence, to remain steadfast when it comes to like protecting your well-being, then even if other people shame you, or even if other people get mad at you for not measuring up to their expectations, or for not respecting the culture, the bayanihan culture, or the utang na loob culture, then eventually those people will get tired din naman of criticizing you eh. Kasi if you're not gonna fold, 'di ba? If you're gonna keep on protecting your own well-being, then what benefit will they get from constantly criticizing you? 'Di ba? They're gonna get tired eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we can use hypnotherapy techniques to strengthen our confidence when it comes to protecting our boundaries. And speaking of hypnotherapy again, as our topic suggests, diba? We are gatekeeping our boundaries. We can also use that metaphor. If we can become stronger security guards or stronger warriors that protect the gates of our mental wellness, or our um, material wellness, our physical wellness, then kumbaga, our subconscious will learn how to become firm when it comes to our boundaries. And then wait, I I had another idea cropped up when you were sharing your stories.
Hmm.
Ayun. Regarding those people who will say negative things when you don't help them out, or when you don't like measure up to their expectations. I keep telling myself that people who truly love me, people who genuinely care about me, will understand when I'm unable to make time for them, or when I'm unable to do them huge favors, or when I'm unable to help them. Kasi like I feel confident that my relationships with these people are stable enough that like a few no's would not crush our friendship or our relationship. Diba? Parang, we don't live in a static world. Eventually naman, when we already feel more energetic, or when we feel more joyful, then we have a lot of extra time to give to other people also. And I want to go back to the ano din, to the emotional vampires. Uh, Again, I'm not condemning these people. Maybe during that phase lang they were like that because they felt so hurt, or they felt that the world is unfair. You know the saying, hurt people hurt other people. Pero once they're able to overcome these feelings of suffering, and once they're able to become kinder versions of themselves, then I guess it's okay to let them in once more, like provided uh they're already like in a better mental or emotional space. They're already capable of also giving kindness. Diba? And wait lang, last kwento. I attended like a Chiman seminar. Uh, and he made this joke na parang when people get married, they shouldn't say na I will love you forever. People should be saying I will love you only for as long as you're lovable. Once you become unlovable, I will not love you anymore.
Wala, no comment, no comment.
Yeah, pero again, going back to the concept of ano naman, of the feelings of emptiness, or not abundant. Like it's so subjective. Like you can have only a few thousand pesos in your wallet and still feel abundant. And you can have like trillions in your account and still feel that you're lacking. So it's very subjective. So it's our feelings of gratitude that would enable us to share more with others.
Agreed, agreed,
Okay.
agreed.
And
Uh, Sige, any specific like suggestions for our listeners that want to say no, or want to specifically set their boundaries? Yeah,
well, I just want to repeat what I said
line
na
up natin lahat nung napag-usapan natin muna
okay.
kanina.
All right. Well, number
Okay,
one, it takes practice.
yun.
Uh, like
Practice.
consistency is key.
Mhm.
When you keep on repeating it, it gets easier and easier. And
Mhm.
then building confidence is also very important because when we can withstand, the discomfort that we feel when people criticize us, then it's easier to reprogram ourselves into becoming better gatekeepers of our boundaries. And we shared a lot of metaphors. I mean, for
Dami, yeah.
yeah, for people who do meditate, or for those who undergo uh like different healing techniques, like even in Reiki, diba? Even in like, what do you call that? Crystal healing, or even in other energy healing methods. Parang they make use of metaphors naman, diba? Like before the session, people will tell you, or the healer will tell you, you will feel uh heat as I touch different parts of your body. So like these metaphors can actually help reprogram our subconscious mind to gain either confidence, or like a better resolve to love ourselves more.
Mhm.
And for those who find it difficult to visualize, then they can go to experts. Like Ken is an NLP coach, so it's it's easier to for the subconscious to accept these suggestions when we are in a more relaxed state. So hypnotherapists have been trained to put people more at ease, and to have more alpha brain waves, or even delta brain waves, or theta brain waves. Kasi beta waves are like the more of, it's more associated with conscious thinking, and the conscious brain is highly critical. So like when you have more of beta waves, and like you're doing counseling, or you're doing hypnotherapy, because for example, you're trying to experiment on your own na lang. You're trying to suggest all these new concepts to yourself. However, you have more of beta brain waves, then your inner critic will find a million reasons to reject the new concepts that you're trying to install. So, I mean, yeah, you can try this on your own, or you can listen to guided meditations, or you can work with coaches like Ken, for example.
Oo, puwede naman. 'Pag sinipag 'pag sini oo, bull run kasi ngayon. 'Pag bull run ano, focus din ako sa crypto. But I still, I'm working with some people that I coach and mentor right now. And, siguro i-add ko lang dun sa mga bagay that you could use. Um, ayoko sab hmm, ayoko sabihin yung art of letting go, but as you get to do that journey of learning more about yourself. Ask yourself specific questions so that you could get to understand you could map your emotions, you could map your beliefs, you could map yung ano yung mga non-negotiables mo. And when you know more about yung mga yon, I do think it becomes easier to form a certain mindset that could aid you and that could be more useful for you moving forward, so that you know when you're drained, you know when you're energized, you know what time of day you feel better, you know what makes you feel like really really good, you know what food to order when you're feeling down. I mean, these are some of the things that you could just, check within yourself. So kumare malungkot ka ngayon, ano ba yung masaya para sa'yo? So kung alam mo yung definition mo ng masaya for you, why aren't you doing it? I mean, malungkot ka na nga, tapos makikinig ka pa ng mga malulungkot na storya ng mga kaibigan mo. So, I mean, is that useful for you? One of the key things na sinabi ko dun sa isang coaching call ko the other day was, stop it. Stop talking to people muna. I mean, sad-sad ka na eh. Stop talking to people that are like magdadump lang sa'yo. Alam ko you're a friendly person, but sinuggest ko talaga na okay lang kayo magkwentuhan about other things muna, Pero right now, we're working on you. So
Mm,
if we're working on you, you have to cut muna. Teka lang, hindi ko kaya makinig ngayon kasi medyo mababa yung energy ko. You could
mm,
create some scripts eh. Kung hindi ka pa sanay, sinulat ko dito sa papel ko kanina eh, have the resources to actually work with it. Kung wala ka pang alam na dapat paano yung dapat best answer para hindi mas sumama yung loob nila, ito yung gusto ko rin i-highlight. Masanay ka rin na sumasama yung loob nila. Kasi kung sumama yung loob nila sa'yo, tapos you'll feel bad about it,
mm,
then sira yung araw mo.
mm,
Kung gaano katagal mong i-manage yung iniisip na baka galit sa'yo si ganyan kasi hindi mo pinautang, Mars, ganyan, ano, ganyan. Eh, wala ka rin eh. So
yeah.
ngayon, 2,000 pera mo sa bangko, tapos umihiram si kumare sa'yo ng 2,000 din.
Mm,
Nagets mo yung hirap nun? Parang, tas iipitin ka with psychological stuff kasi syempre utang na loob, may utang na loob kang malaki. Tapos kailangan mo talaga magbigay. Well, doon ka maiipit eh kasi you're treasuring the connection eh. Pero you also have to understand, kakain ka rin mamaya. So, alam mo yun, most friends and most people around us would even give the 2,000 just so that hindi lang masira yung pangalan nila.
mhm, mm,
But yeah, what I'm saying here is you have to also accept that at the end of the day, you're alone. And when you get to understand that, you get to accept that you are your own world, things get to change. So, yun lang. Yung resources, pwede kang magtanong. Comment ka dito ng mga, ano dapat ko sabihin? Kunwari umuutang, ganyan. Or
Scripts.
kunwari, paano ka magde-decline sa, kuha ka sa akin ng ng ganito, ino-offer, di ba? Ang daming ino-offer sa'yo. Sali ka dito sa kumpanya namin, sali ka dito sa ganyan.
Bili ka nito.
There, bili ka nito, bili ka nito. There are ways to actually
Mm,
decline, respectfully decline, so that and they won't even feel bad because ang concept na ina-explain ko dun sa mga workshops is pre-framing or
mhm,
language softeners. You could use language softeners na parang, ay, gustong-gusto sana kita tulungan kaso uh, I hope you understand. Hindi ko ginamit yung pasensya ka na. Hindi ko
mm,
ginamit yun.
yeah.
Pero,
Being sorry. Sorry.
walang
To
sorry. Hindi ako
apologize to
nag-apologize
protect
na
our boundaries.
ang statement dun is, I hope you understand. Siguro, on a different day, siguro I'll be available to help. Sa ngayon kasi, meron kaming malaking binayaran and I hope you understand na,
Mm.
gusto ko man tumulong, um, hindi kaya sa ngayon. But
And
I could
people,
probably help you, connect you with some people that could help you. And that's
mhm,
also help eh. That's also help.
yeah.
Yeah.
People who truly matter will understand your reasons. They will
Yeah.
still keep you around if your relationship with them is strong enough.
I've read the quote nga pala, Kyla, before years ago. It was a strong quote eh. That sabi nila, when you've helped the person through their tough times, tough time, when
Mhm,
they go back to that tough time, they go back to you.
mhm,
And as I remember that, teka lang, paano naman nung nagka-tough time? Tinitingnan ko yan in a reciprocative way eh. So parang uutang sa'yo isang tao na wala ng capability magbayad sa'yo. Isipin mo nga yan. May mga
oh,
kaibigan ka na uutang sa'yo, they're such in a bad place right now. So
mhm,
ngayon pinautang mo ng malaki. Logically, kung titingnan mo, hindi nga sila capable magbayad eh. They're
mhm.
into such deep shit. So, mabuti pag
Well,
gumawa ka ng paraan to help them or to help them raise the amount of money as
mhm,
help. Pero
mhm,
kung utang, mas nabaon pa sila.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah.
You can
Kasi
help in a different way eh.
the
I mean,
context is different.
yeah,
One is
you
like
could
borrow, the other is like dole out. Yeah.
So, yun yung minsan tinitingnan ko. I mean, is there a capability to pay? If
Mm-hmm.
yes, at kaya ko, understood. Ops, teka, hindi capable to pay kasi ipit na siya doon. You could give the help, and kung maging kaibigan pa siya moving forward as a friend, hindi yung nakikita ka lang niya as parang wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Walang problema to maintain the friendship, but kung minsan I have to cut friends na eh. I mean, ano na ako, I'm numb with it eh. Parang I could
Mm-hmm.
easily make new friends.
Mm-hmm.
Old friends, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just sad. I mean,
Hot chords.
yeah, I do see them as real friends pa rin talaga. But in terms of like relationship wise, I do think they've grown, I've grown, we just grew apart. And hindi na nag-a-align yung mga values, ganun. So parang, tapos biglang lalapit sa'yo after like 10 years, 20 years. Uy, Ken, kamusta ka na?
Mm-hmm.
Tangina. How many years, pare? Di ka na kamusta, tol. Ngayon lang may kailangan ka, tsaka biglang makakamusta. Turo naman ng crypto, turuan mo akong Bitcoin. Sige, turuan kita. Tapos, after mo turuan, biglang
Mm-hmm.
wala rin. So,
Yeah.
parang sa akin, nah, just play my Dota and just lagi, pagkwentuhan na lang ako sa mga friends that really want to, even new friends that really want to just be around or talagang add value or learn with me. Yun na
Mm-hmm.
lang yung tinatreasure ko, and I've lived, I do think my life right now is fairly fun because I make it fun. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, picking up from what you said lang, I just remembered, like, I had this conversation with my cognitive behavioral therapist eh. Kasi I was trying to unlearn certain things nga, particularly surrounding boundaries. And then she reminded me that boundaries does not mean that you already have the license to step on other people's toes. It doesn't mean that you can already hurt, demean, or be cruel towards other people.
Mm,
So, um, she suggested a few exercises, and she told me na parang there's nothing inherently wrong with helping other people. Kaso when you feel that you're being drained, that's when it becomes bad. So after like a few days after my counseling session with her, I saw this beggar as I was driving along C5. There was this beggar and she was clutching her tummy. She looked like she was in a lot of pain.
mm,
At first, like the reflex reaction was like, oh, it's your obligation to help others kasi you have more. So my first plan was to not give money to that woman kasi I was like, oh, I would feel negatively lang kasi I'm being forced to do it. However, I paused for a while and then I just told myself na I'm gonna give this person some money and I'm gonna assume that I will never encounter her again and she will not be able to help me in any way. And if she's a scammer, because sadly there are people who pretend to be handicapped, but it's part of like an MO. What do you call that? Yung mga sindikato, yon yung mga namamalimos. Um, so before giving her money, I just said na if she turns out to be part of the syndicate, that's on me. What's more important is I gave wholeheartedly. I wouldn't give if I'm being forced to give. Kaso if I'm feeling like a certain amount of compassion or concern for the well-being of uh this person,
mm.
then even if she turns out to be a scammer, that's not on me.
Tama.
And like for my closing comment lang,
Mm.
I just want to share this uh idea. I don't remember the exact quote, pero like it was said that, our boundaries don't need to be like electric fences that are aggressive or violent or that are meant to hurt other people. um, we can communicate our boundaries with respect and some form of compassion. There's always a way of declining with courtesy.
Mm. Well said. Well said. Siguro sa akin na 'no, closing remarks ko na, Kyla.
Mhm.
Closing remarks ko lang is, um, ang title natin ngayon is Draw the Line, eh, Draw the Line. May mga bagay naman na puwede ka naman hindi mag-draw ng line. Pero kung nandun ka sa sitwasyon na feeling mo na sobra na yung binibigay mo sa mga tao sa paligid mo, be it family, be it friends. May kanta nga 'di ba yung kay Angela na "Ako naman muna." 'Di ba? Ako naman muna. Mas madali tumulong if you're in a place of like, um, you've a place of abundance, a place of like care, a place of like you've recharged or yung fully recharged ka or kahit papaano meron kang mabibigay that you won't even feel bad. Sarap sarap tumulong, eh, kasi yun yung naturo sa'tin, eh. Yun yung naging programming, eh. Yun nga yung sinabi ko nung simula, 'di ba? Iba-iba tayo ng programming pero in this culture, in this society, um, value for value, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. 'Di ba? Yun yung parang survival of the fittest. Kung may value ka, nandun yung mga tao. Kung wala kang value, wala. So I'd stick with my my old quote. I'd always add value to yourself. Create value so that you're in a position of value. It's easier to give. Andun ka sa value point, eh. 'Di ba? Kaya paano naman yun? Wala akong value, eh. Believe mo yan. Believe mo yan. Okay? So ang tingnan muna natin is i-reframe muna natin doon. Tingnan muna natin kung sinasabi mo sa akin wala kang value, believe mo 'yon, wala kang value. Pero if you ask your friends, they would see value in you. That's why they're still staying. That's why they're still your friends. Eh. Alamin mo kung ano yung, what makes you valuable for your parents, for your family, for your friends. And when you get to understand, teka lang, sa utak ko lang pala yung sinabi ko na wala akong value. Ina, may value pala ako. Then when you start believing that you have value, that changes the dynamics. 'Di
Mhm.
ba? Clear sa iyo kung ano yung value mo sa surroundings mo and then, develop more, strive more. Kung uh, you really feel down, understand what makes you feel up. I mean, sometimes we just complicate things ourselves. Eh. Well, most of the time. Most of the time. So, ang gusto lang namin i-discuss ni Kyle dito, we're just free flowing. We just came up with a topic and we are coming from a very like with the intention to just discuss, share and help in any way that we can. If this aligns with you, then nice. If this doesn't align with you, you could just shift to a different channel and that's fine. We don't it's fine with us. So, yun lang message ko palagi, always add value to yourself, listen to podcasts, YouTube, aral ka, attend workshops, get coaches, get professional help therapists, o kung ano man kailangan mo, you already know what to do, matanda ka na. So, yun lang, kita-kits sa
Time for self-care.
give time for self-care. Pag sinabi mo wala akong oras sa araw na to do self-care, it doesn't even take an hour. It doesn't even take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to you. If you just spend 1 minute saying, think I'm thankful for my life, or
Mhm.
may message ka sa isang kaibigan na parang, "Oy, salamat sa
Yeah.
ganito."
That's beautiful.
Ang laking it doesn't have to be even 1 minute. It could be just 5 seconds. But
Mhm.
again, spend time to actually learning more about yourself, and we both hope that you have better experience of life that way. So yun lang. Episode number 5.
Thank you so much, Ken, and thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Kyla.
for
Thank you,
joining
everyone.
us tonight. And we hope to see you on our next episode. We're going to be announcing our schedule in the next few days or by next week, hopefully.
Hindi pa namin alam yung topic. Pag-usapan
Yeah,
muna
yeah,
natin, tingnan natin, or if you're listening, you could probably suggest what are
yeah.
you going through right now? Send us a message, and we'd want to actually answer questions and like work with what's going on. So yeah.
Mm. All right. Have a nice evening, everyone. Bye bye.